Hello, community, and welcome to another Keeping It Real podcast with Dr. Anita. I am your host, Dr. Anita Polite Wilson, C-Suite Trusted Advisor and Board Director, helping members of the C-Suite community reframe diversity conversations from difficult to different. We are back with my guest, Kelli Kirkland, the founder and CEO of Genius Kids Club. We ended our last conversation talking about the simple shift in a personal perception being all we need for a radical racial transformation. And Kelli, I could not agree with you more. I want to pick up the conversation here talking about having honest conversations. And specifically, we ended on the fact that when people feel like they hate you, the unpacking of that is really hating the fact that they've been duped for all these years. And I'm paraphrasing here, but the fact that they've been raised to believe that anyone that was a shade or several darker than them was that much less of an intellect, of capable, of intelligent, of emotional intelligence that we need in order to function well in society. Do I have that right?
You sure do. I +1, love everything you just said. Yes.
So let's pick up from there. Let's talk about what does it take to have an honest conversation. Now in my work, I've devised an acronym of thinking about how we act with people, approach others with an open heart. And right there, I let people know it's so much less about, oh, I need to think this about Kelli, or I need to think that about Kelli, and more about, well, what are the interpretations, limiting beliefs that I am placing on Kelli as a filter before I approach Kelli. And so when I talk about approaching others with an open heart, it's so much more with what are the disbeliefs that I need to remove before I try and approach Kelli, and then connecting to understand, not to dispute or to debate, but understand Kelli by really listening, and then tapping into diversity by being curious. So when it comes to having honest conversations, what do you think that's getting in the way? And again, unpacking that hatred for you, but it's actually a hatred about the discoveries that I'm making about myself.
I think the number one thing that gets in the way of those conversations is insecurity. I think really insecurity and fear, those are at the root of that defense mechanism people have, that need to justify, oh, well, I'm not racist, or I didn't mean that, or there's just, it's hard to have a conversation with someone who already has their guard up. Yes. But that guard is up because people feel insecure. Listen, there are going to be the just outright hardcore racists that you're just not going to change them at all. So I'm not talking about those outliers. I mean, maybe we can change them, maybe we can't. I'm talking about the average everyday person who really has the ability and deep down possibly the desire to make change, but doesn't know.
So before we can even get to desire, there's a process of raised awareness that happens to come first. So when you say we're not talking about the hardcore racists that we can't change, is it really about changing people, or is it about inviting people into that space where they can participate, where they can investigate perceptions and integrate perspectives so that they can raise their awareness and come to a different conclusion about the assumptions that they've had in the past?
I think that really is a more intellectual way to just say they have to change. They have to decide they want to be open to those things. They have, and that's a change, and that change can be hard. And I do use the word change because I think change can be so challenging. In some of my leadership cohorts, I do a quick little exercise about the uncomfortability of change. Yes. And I have everyone get a piece of paper and sign their name with whatever hand they write with, sign their name. And then instantly have them do it with the other hand. A lot of psychologists have done this. And then we talk through what it felt like for them to make that shift. And what it felt like when there were no stakes, where you weren't going to get fired, where no one's going to notice, no one's going to see it. But I've literally had everything from insecure, embarrassed, ashamed. I felt like a child. I felt frustrated. I felt all of these things, to just do something as simple as one time make a change that took maybe 3 seconds to sign your name a different way. And I like to present that to help people be aware that it's okay to say change is hard and scary. Change affects me in these different ways. Change can be emotional. And that change, signing your name on one sheet of paper that's going to get thrown in the trash, will have no impact on your life. But all those emotions still came to the surface. All those different feelings about what it meant to feel uncomfortable. And I think when we're talking about even something as simple as shifting perception, it can be uncomfortable because you're saying, I have to do something different than what I did before. Is it going to be scary? Is it going to be hard? Am I going to get embarrassed? Am I going to put my foot in my mouth? Am I going to make a mistake? Am I going to look like a racist? And all of that comes from fear, but a lot of times it could come out as defensiveness or anger. But I think so much of it is based in insecurity and fear. And if we can help people to understand that it's okay to have those feelings, as soon as we can understand it's okay to have those feelings, let's address them. Then we can start moving forward and saying, now let's be aware of these other things. Now let's dive into something deeper. If we can't even get past the basic insecurities people have about how hard it is for us to sometimes change, we're going to keep having conversations and reading books and going to seminars, and nothing's going to be different. We're going to go back to work and do the same thing.
Let's explore this. Why is it that we lead with the discomfort of change rather than the opportunity to learn and make new connections? What is that?
Because I think the facts are that if you don't understand that it's okay to be nervous, it's okay to have questions, it's okay to feel a little uncomfortable. I think I say it, and a lot of people say it, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
That's why I think it's okay to say, I'm a little uncomfortable right now, but so what? Mm-hmm. That's normal. Let's normalize that. Mm-hmm. It's when I pick a brand new pair of shoes, they're so cute, but that first day I'm wearing them, they hurt. They hurt. It doesn't mean I'm not going to look cute in that outfit and still wear them. I'm still doing it. I got to wear them in. So I can live with that uncomfortability momentarily. And that's what I want people to understand. That uncomfortability, that frustration, all those things that feel negative won't last always. They are momentary. So let's address it and let's get past it. And then we go, it isn't difficult at all. Oh my gosh, I was so worried about all this. You can get over it like that, but you can't get over it if you don't acknowledge it. So acknowledge it. Understand it might be normal. Your feet are going to hurt that first time wearing those shoes. Mm-hmm. But by the third time, you're going to be fly and comfortable and cool. And everyone's going to be like, oh, I want those shoes.
I love that analogy that you just gave us. Yes, having honest conversations are uncomfortable to begin with until you break it in, until you exercise the ability to step into those shoes, right?
Yes.
And if it's heels, we adjust our perception as we move forward in heels versus in flats. Fellas, I'm sorry you can't relate to that, but
they're dress shoes. My son's dress shoes. He's sometimes like, oh,
there you go. Dress shoes versus your casual kicks, right? Yeah. There's a different perspective. You actually even show up differently depending on the
show up differently. Your posture's different,
right?
You sit different. You feel different sometimes.
Yes.
So I don't believe in this sort of narrative of always saying, let's have the difficult conversations. No, we don't need that. That's unnecessary.
No, because we already know it's going to be uncomfortable.
I'm not talking about how uncomfortable my shoes are. I know they're uncomfortable, and I know I'm going to get past it in the next couple of days.
Yes.
So I don't need a sign on my shoes that say they're uncomfortable. That's not necessary, and you're messing up how my shoe looks.
Right? Not only that, and here's the amazing thing that I love about this analogy. You can tell when somebody's breaking in a new pair of shoes, right? You don't say anything, you just give them the grace. Yes. So why do we feel like we have to say something when it comes to having these honest conversations? And that kind of leads to where we're going to go in our next segment, talking about honest living.
Yeah.
Community, I know you're enjoying this conversation as much as I am. Kelli's just so real, and that's why this is called Real Conversations from the C-Suite. If you want to hear this conversation again, or if you missed our first conversation with Kelli, go to the website, www.drnita.com. On the landing page, in the center at the top, click on the Real Conversations podcast. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and share these conversations. Let me know what's resonating with you. I want to give you more of that. Until then, this is Dr. Nita reminding you to stay blessed and keep it real.